The passengers boarded the flight with a mixture of excitement and exhaustion. The airplane's engines roared to life as it taxied onto the runway, ready to embark on a journey that was meant to be routine. Among the passengers was Sarah, a businesswoman who had barely slept the night before. She settled into her seat, her tired eyes closing as the plane's wheels left the ground. As the airplane ascended, the view outside the window was breathtaking. The sun painted the sky with shades of pink and orange, casting a warm glow over the clouds. But beneath the serene exterior, an unease lingered, a feeling that would soon escalate into a nightmarish descent into terror. Midway through the flight, a disturbance caught Sarah's attention. A passenger a few rows ahead seemed agitated, his eyes wide and his body trembling. He muttered to himself incoherently, his voice carrying a note of desperation. Other passengers exchanged worried glances, but no one seemed willing to intervene. As the minutes passed, the man's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He began to shout, his words a jumble of fear and panic. Flight attendants rushed to his side, attempting to calm him, but their efforts were in vain. The man's shouts grew louder, filling the cabin with an atmosphere of tension and dread. The airplane's cabin lights flickered, and a sudden chill swept through the air. Passengers exchanged puzzled looks as the temperature continued to drop. Outside, the sky darkened, clouds gathering ominously. A sense of unease settled over the plane, as if an invisible force had taken hold, sending shivers down everyone's spine. Sarah glanced out the window, her heart skipping a beat as she caught a glimpse of a figure standing on the wing. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized the man from earlier, his eyes devoid of sanity. He pointed accusingly at the passengers, his lips moving in a silent chant. And then, with a burst of unnatural speed, he disappeared into thin air. As the airplane continued its flight, the unease inside the cabin grew. Passengers reported strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, whispers carried on the wind, and fleeting glimpses of shadows that seemed to dance at the corners of their vision. Fear spread like wildfire, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were no longer alone on the plane. The flight attendants attempted to maintain an air of normalcy, but their strained smiles failed to mask their own unease. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing turbulence ahead, but the passengers could sense that something far more sinister was at play. The airplane shuddered as if caught in the grip of an invisible force, and the atmosphere inside grew increasingly suffocating. The lights inside the airplane flickered once more, plunging the cabin into darkness. Passengers' hearts raced as they fumbled for their phones, their screens casting an eerie glow. Whispers seemed to echo through the air, growing louder and more distinct. Sarah's pulse quickened as she realized that the whispers were not coming from the passengers around her. They were coming from the shadows themselves. A chilling sensation crawled up Sarah's spine as she felt a presence drawing closer. The air grew heavy with a malevolent energy, and a voice, cold and hollow, whispered in her ear, "They cannot save you. You are ours now." She shivered, her breath catching in her throat as she realized that the passengers were not alone on this flight. Panic spread like wildfire as passengers reported seeing figures in the seats beside them, spectral shapes that seemed to materialize out of thin air. The whispers grew louder, their words a sinister chorus that filled the cabin. The flight attendants struggled to maintain order, their voices drowned out by the cacophony of fear and confusion. Sarah's heart pounded as she watched the shadows coalesce into sinister forms. Faces contorted in agony, eyes empty and soulless, seemed to press against the windows. The airplane shuddered as if caught in a maelstrom of malevolent energy. The passengers were trapped in a nightmare, a reality that defied explanation and reason. Amid the chaos, a few passengers banded together, determined to fight the encroaching darkness. Sarah and a group of strangers armed themselves with flashlights and makeshift weapons. They moved cautiously through the cabin, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Their efforts were met with resistance from the shadows, which seemed to pulse with an unholy energy. The battle raged on, The passengers' fear transformed into a desperate resolve to survive. But as they fought, they realized that their attackers were not mere shadows. They were the souls of those who had met a tragic end, trapped between worlds, and seeking to drag the living down with them. In the midst of the battle, a voice broke through the chaos. The voice of the pilot. His voice crackled over the intercom, revealing the truth that had been concealed for far too long. The airplane they were on was not just an ordinary flight. It was a vessel caught between dimensions, a purgatorial space where the souls of the departed lingered. The revelation sent shockwaves through the passengers, their resolve wavering for a moment. But Sarah's determination remained unshaken. She realized that they had to confront the malevolent souls and release them from their torment, or risk being trapped in the same liminal space forever. Armed with the knowledge of their plight, Sarah and the other passengers faced the shadows head-on. The battle that ensued was a clash of wills, a war between the living and the restless dead. The airplane quaked with the force of their struggle, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp and bend. As Sarah faced one of the malevolent souls, she saw a flicker of recognition in its eyes. A surge of empathy washed over her as she realized that these souls were not just tormentors. They were victims of their own tragic fates. With a determined cry, she channeled her energy into breaking the cycle of suffering, freeing the souls from their purgatorial prison. The battle's intensity waned, and the shadows began to dissipate like mist in the wind. The airplane trembled once more, this time with a sense of release rather than malevolence. The passengers' exhausted faces held a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Outside the windows, the sky had begun to lighten, the first rays of dawn breaking through the clouds. The airplane descended, leaving behind the tumultuous space between dimensions. The passengers emerged from the ordeal change, their bond forged through a shared encounter with the supernatural. As the airplane touched down, Sarah looked out at the world below with a newfound appreciation for the solidity of reality. The whispers and shadows were gone, replaced by a sense of triumph over the unknown. The flight had been a journey into the heart of terror, a battle against forces beyond comprehension. But it had also been a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the unbreakable resolve to confront the darkness, and the power of unity in the face of the unimaginable.